Our expansion is the White March, and we've just released the first part of 2. And it is an expansion in the style of the Infinity Engine game expansions like Baldur's Gate Tales of the Sword Coast or Icewind Dale Heart of Winter, where it feels like an extension of the game world. And it's something that people can access as early as 1/3 of the way through the main game. We know a lot of people who play big RPGs don't always get to the end of them, so we wanted people to have a chance to jump in even if they hadn't completed the game. It raises the level cap by 2. Previous level cap was 12, so going up to 14. We give new abilities, new spells. We have 2 new companions, so we now have a total of 10 companions covering almost all the classes. We have a new monk and a rogue companion named Zawa and the Devil of Carrot, respectively. They're very cool. And yeah, we've added a lot of new features, some of which we've patched into the main game as well. We have party AI, which is really something a lot of people have been asking for. Micromanaging 6 characters, especially a lot of casters with high-level spells, can get kind of tiresome at times. So the party AI system allows people to set up preferences for individual characters, and then they'll just go buck wild with whatever sort of suite the player has set them up with. So that makes managing characters in combat a lot easier. And of course, there's a really cool story that goes into this frozen section of the Eastern Reach called the White March. And the players are trying to figure out why the dwarves that ran this old fortress called Durgan's Battery disappeared and sort of locked up their stronghold. And the goal of all of this is to get access to something called the White Forge, which creates fantastic steel and bronze. So it's a very cool story, lots of neat little twists and turns, cool companion reactivity. We also wrote a lot of new lines for the companions from the base game, so they'll react to things in the expansion as well. So it was a pretty big undertaking. That's why we're doing it in 2 parts. And yeah, it's turned out pretty nicely. It has a lot of beautiful art too.
So what have you guys learned from your fans that you're implementing into this new expansion?
That we suck. No. We learned, we learned the importance of AI. I mean, we always knew that AI was very important. It's just something that we couldn't emphasize as much as we would have wanted to in the base game. Making this whole game and the game system and everything from scratch was a big undertaking. So we knew that we had to revisit the AI, and that in revisiting the AI for the party members, we would also be able to improve the AI for our enemies. So a lot of people who've played the expansion already have commented how much more aggressive and smarter the enemies see when it comes to using their own special abilities and things like that. So I think that was a very good thing for us to learn and sort of like focus on improving. Also, a lot of the user interface things that many of which Adam implemented have improved the game a great deal. Things like showing range indicators, targeting percentages, so that people just have a better idea of how far away can I aim this before I'm going to have to move my character? What chance do I actually have to hit all of these characters?
There's another thing that you're forgetting. We also added solo stealth based on player feedback. So in the base game, the entire party would have to go into stealth, and so we, based on feedback and based on our own, playing the game, we wanted to make it so individual party members would go into stealth. And that way you can send your rogue or your high stealth characters into stealth and scout around ahead of the rest of the party. And they can be stealth during combat, so when combat starts they can be in stealth, and then you can do backstabs or sneak attacks or stuff like that. And so that's based off of players' feedback too.
Okay. Now you guys started off with Kickstarter. How has it been just starting from almost like a crowdfunded game to where you guys are now?
It's been a very, very interesting 3 years. So it's been 3 years since our Kickstarter launched. Pretty much like this week or next week, it's been 3 years. So we've been working on this game now for 3 years. It's been a pretty crazy ride. Looking back at where we were 3 years ago, especially the studio Obsidian, and where we're at today, we have a lot more projects going on. It's night and day difference. We have, Pillars is our own IP now. We can do so much more with it. We have our, we even have a card game, a tabletop card game based off the Pillars of Eternity game. And we also have, Pathfinder card game in the works. We also have our huge game going on, which is Armored Warfare, which is a tank-based MMO that we're working on. Obsidian is doing a lot better now, and I think largely it's because we were able to do the Kickstarter when we were able to do it. We were able to stay afloat for, thanks to our fans and our backers. It's been a pretty amazing ride in the last 3 years.
Would you guys do a Kickstarter over again, if you could?
Yes. So we are actually discussing that right now. So we've been having meetings with the leadership group at Obsidian to figure out what we're going to be doing next for Kickstarter. Or we even have Fergus is involved with the FIG group, which is a new gaming crowdfunding website where you can. They just launched that or was it like 2 weeks ago? And that's with Tim Schafer from Double Fine and Brian Fargo from In Exile. And so they're on the advisory group. So that's a new thing that we're involved with too.
Cool. And finally, my last question is, what future do you see with Pillars of Eternity? Where would you guys want it to go?
Where would you like to go?
Where would I like to go? Well, we're gonna finish out part 2 of the expansion. We want it to. Our goal was always to make it feel as big as Tales of the Sword Coast. That sort of we felt was the sweet spot for expansions. It's probably gonna wind up being a little bigger than that, but I don't think anyone's gonna complain too much about it. And then after that, we'd like to work on a sequel. And we've talked about some ideas that we'd have for sequel. More fundamental changes to things like making it easier for people to mod the game. We know a ton of people want to mod the game, and it's been a little difficult for them to do so. So there are structural changes, engineering changes that we could make to improve it that we think would go a long way toward that. It also probably would actually help with iteration inside the studio as well if we change some of the engineering things. Also, we're looking at more gameplay features like true multi-classing. So in the base game, you're always a single class character, but I designed a system where you could sort of mix and match a lot of different classes much more freely, much more like 3rd edition D&D, which I think, I believe people will actually enjoy that quite a bit. And we've also been talking about different locations where we'd want to have it and storylines that we'd want to pursue. I think that a lot of people, when they played Pillars of Eternity, they like the nostalgia factor of it, but they wish that it wasn't quite so Central European. Like a lot of it is very, rolling green meadows and forests and seashores and things like that. So we're talking about different places we can set it to make it feel even more removed from the very sort of standard, but it is an enjoyable sort of high fantasy setting, which is something that also Baldur's Gate 2 did, and I think a lot of people appreciated that it shifted away from the Sword Coast to Afkatla and Am. So
Awesome. And of course, I have to ask, where can people get your expansion?
So you can get our expansion on Steam, GOG Game, or I'm saying GOG Game. It's GOG.com now. I don't want to screw that up. GOG.com, Green Man Gaming, Origin,
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
You can buy games, you could probably find it.
Tap it in to your tap of choice.
Cool.
You'll find out.
Paradox
Yeah,
Plaza.
and Pillar or Eternity.obsidian.net is the website for it.